Aligning training with leadership values, cultivating a culture of continuous learning and growth. Abstract. This article explores the critical intersection between leadership values and organizational training programs, demonstrating how strategically aligned learning initiatives serve as powerful catalysts for cultural transformation. Drawing from professional experience and research, the article argues that when training programs deliberately reinforce core leadership values rather than operating in isolation, organizations experience measurable improvements in employee engagement, performance, and retention. Through a case study of a global consulting firm that successfully integrated customer centricity across its training curriculum, the article illustrates how this alignment produces tangible business outcomes. The piece offers a practical framework for organizations seeking this integration, establishing clear values, auditing current training, developing targeted learning experiences, cultivating internal trainers as cultural ambassadors, and maintaining leadership accountability. Ultimately, the article contends that this deliberate connection between training and leadership philosophy represents an underutilized yet powerful mechanism for cultivating sustainable organizational culture in today's complex business environment. I have seen firsthand the connection between effective training and strong leadership. Throughout my career, the most successful companies have always been those where training directly supports and reinforces the core values espoused by leadership. With increasing complexity in today's business landscape, it is more important than ever that workplace learning is strategically aligned with an organization's stated leadership philosophy and priorities. When training is disconnected from leadership values, it risks being seen as irrelevant or ineffective by employees. However, when training activities are consciously designed to cultivate the very culture leaders seek to foster, the results can be transformational. Today we will explore why integrating training with leadership values is so crucial and provide actionable recommendations for how any organization can forge a stronger link between these critical functions to achieve sustainable performance improvements. Leadership values set the foundation for culture and climate. At the center of any thriving organization are the core values that provide a unified philosophy and direction for all members. Effective leaders articulate a clear set of values that set the North Star for the culture they seek to cultivate. Shine. 2017. These values often revolve around priorities like customer service, innovation, integrity, collaboration, or continuous self-improvement. Academic research shows that work climates strongly reflecting shared leadership values have been directly linked to higher employee engagement, performance, and retention rates. Oreg and Burson, 2011. When values are clearly defined and championed by leadership, they permeate workplace behaviors and decision-making processes over time. Duke, 2019. Therefore, establishing a set of core values is the necessary starting point for any leader aiming to positively shape their organization's culture. Integrated training directly builds capacities related to values. Once leadership values are firmly established, the next critical step is ensuring all training and development activities are intentionally designed to build the specific mindsets and skills those values represent. Training cannot be seen as a separate, disconnected function. It must be strategic and directly support cultural goals. As research shows, simply informing employees of values is usually insufficient for internalizing them. Active learning experiences are needed to cultivate new capabilities. DeRue and Wellman, 2009. For example, at a company where collaboration is highly valued, training could focus on topics like conflict resolution, giving feedback, project management, and relationship building. Traditional, soft skills become directly tied to furthering the culture rather than treated as tangential. Similarly, at an organization emphasizing self-improvement, training may center on goal setting, continuous learning techniques, and embracing feedback. Through well-designed training pathways, leadership values transition from abstract concepts into lived realities as capacities are systematically strengthened over time. Hamlin et al. 2008. Case study: aligning training with a customer-first value at a global consulting firm to bring this concept to life. Consider how a global management consulting firm I worked closely with sought to more strongly align all internal and client-facing training with their stated value of placing customers first in everything we do. Previously, the training curriculum addressed customer topics but in a scattered, inconsistent manner. Leadership recognized an opportunity to be more deliberate. We conducted an audit of all current training modules to identify touchpoints related to the customer experience. Several new training programs and workshops were also developed around subjects like customer journey mapping, gathering effective customer feedback, and using design thinking approaches to solve client problems creatively. Simulations and role-plays were integrated to apply learnings in realistic scenarios. Customized training was also provided to account teams to strengthen customer relationships. These targeted changes had a significant impact. Consultant Net Promoter scores from clients rose dramatically. Attrition rates among top performers decreased, and new business win rates increased, all direct outcomes of cultivating a culture where putting customers first was systematically reinforced. Developing trainers as valued cultural ambassadors for training to seamlessly extend leadership philosophy into day-to-day operations. Trainers themselves must embody the organizational culture and values. Companies seeking this level of alignment often develop their training functions using internal staff rather than outsourcing completely to external vendors. When done right, internal trainers can become highly effective cultural ambassadors across the business. RAO 2015. They are empowered to facilitate learning experiences, underscoring why certain mindsets are prioritized as well as model those mindsets in their own work. For the consulting firm case, customer-facing trainers received specialized coaching to exemplify a customer-centric approach during all interactions. Their teaching style, materials, and personal brand came to represent the value of placing customers first. As a result, these trainers developed deep credibility that elevated the impact of their training content. Overall, cultivating internal trainers as authentic cultural carriers is a hallmark of forward-thinking organizations seeking to strategically blend training with leadership philosophy. Key steps for successful alignment of training with values. To recap the core points covered thus far and provide clear next steps. Here are the key phases I've seen work best when helping organizations strengthen the link between training and leadership values. Establish and champion clear leadership values. Explicitly define 2 to 4 core values that represent cultural priorities and will guide strategic direction. Senior leaders must actively role model and reinforce these values. Audit current training for value alignment. Assess all learning and development activities to determine direct touchpoints with each leadership value. Identify gaps. Develop targeted training focused on value capacities. Use research-based methods like job task analysis to create training mapping explicitly to the skills and mindsets represented by each value. Integrate values throughout training design. Incorporate values into needs assessments. Content, delivery methods, assessments, and materials to optimize their reinforcement. Train internal trainers as culture coaches. Provide customized learning to internalize trainers' own understanding of values so they can seamlessly embed and exemplify them. Evaluate and continuously improve alignment. Use metrics and participant feedback to strengthen value integration over time based on organizational growth. The return on such a deliberate approach to aligning all training capabilities with clearly defined leadership values can be incredibly powerful for positively influencing culture on an ongoing basis. However, sustaining this work requires ongoing commitment from the top. Maintaining strategic alignment through leadership accountability while the initial implementation of aligning training with core values holds promise for advancing culture. Sustaining this work over the long term necessitates ongoing accountability from organizational leadership. Leaders must not view values alignment as a project with a clear start and end, but rather an ongoing process continuously reinforced and improved. Regular check-ins with training teams to understand reinforcement of values are critical, as is modeling desired behaviors themselves. Periodic review and refreshing of value statements based on strategic shifts prevents stagnation and keeps language relevant. Leaders should also make the link between values, culture, and business performance transparent by celebrating and communicating impact metrics. Accountability cascades down through clear management KPIs as well. When values are consciously sustained as a strategic leadership priority rather than left to training teams alone, the cultural impact grows exponentially with time. Go. 2019. Long-term value alignment emanates from consistent leadership will and oversight. Conclusion: in today's dynamic business landscape, cultivating a thriving organizational culture grounded in a clear set of leadership values provides a powerful competitive edge. However, simply articulating values is not enough. Training and development must be strategically leveraged to systematically build the mindsets and capabilities leaders seek to foster. Through research-supported approaches profiled in this paper, such as aligning all training content and methods to directly reinforce values, developing internal trainers as cultural ambassadors, and sustaining alignment through leadership accountability, any company can take meaningful steps toward establishing a culture of continuous growth aligned with their highest priorities. When training functions as an extension of the organizational cultural philosophy rather than an independent operation, the returns manifest through engaged employees, exceptional customer experiences, enhanced performance, and long-term sustainable success. Overall, consciously connecting training activities to leadership values represents a highly impactful yet often overlooked lever for positively shaping culture in today's complex business world.